So one of the few things that is fun about being a Democrat in this moment, even as literally the world feels like it's falling apart and there's just distraction after chaos every single day, is having the brief comedic relief of watching the brain of the president of the United States just continue to melt on a daily basis while MAGA influencers and Republican politicians insist that he's totally fine, despite all the mounting evidence that he's clearly had a stroke. And again, even if there was no evidence, I know this man has had a stroke because I feel like I'm having a stroke every time he speaks. And with Donald Trump in the United Kingdom for a state visit, we have gotten clip after clip of him just completely melting down in front of foreign leaders, the king, the prime minister. I mean, just rooms falling completely silent as the president of the United States just vomits out of his mouth words that mean literally nothing. So let's take a look at this clip from a press conference today with Donald Trump and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, in which he once again returns to his many, many victories as the peace president.
To think that we settled Azerbaijan and Albania as an example, it was going on for years. It was never going to be settled. If you remember, the prime minister and the presidents, they were there for many years. They said, when they were in my office, we settled. And they started off at both sides of the Oval Office, so far away. I didn't.
Yes, of course. Who can forget the conflict between Azerbaijan and Albania? Now, of course, he's attempting to refer to Azerbaijan and Armenia, but what we get is Azerbaijan and Albania, which apparently is one of the 7 wars that Donald Trump says that he ended, a claim that he continues to repeat, again, based on nothing. Is this pure cognitive decline? Is it just stupidity? Is it a mixture of both? I'll let you decide. But this is what we've got. The president apparently ending a war that never existed between one country that doesn't exist and one country that's not even related to this region of the world. And I remember when Biden made a few missteps and there were immediate calls for his removal from office, Republicans still want to do investigations into what his mental state was and, revisit every decision he made because who was really in charge at the White House. Meanwhile, Donald Trump can apparently just light his few remaining brain cells on fire in front of national and international media, and we're just kind of like, whatever. And it gets worse, because here was his speech from the state dinner last night.
It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. And if you think about it, it's a lot of presidents, and this was the second state visit, and that's the first, and maybe that's going to be the last time. I hope it is, actually. But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country.
Literally, no idea what he's trying to say there. Like, it's just complete nonsense. I literally saw this tweet. Does he think he's the first American president to visit Windsor Castle? Does he not remember that he visited Windsor Castle? Will anyone ask him why he can't seem to remember things he's already done? There's just no one home upstairs. And like that part about well, I hope this is the last time I'm here. What does that even mean? Like, is he trying to insult the King of England, or is that what is he referring to? And just everyone in the room awkwardly laughing and trying to get through this thing. It's sounds like nails on a chalkboard, him trying to get through this speech, reading like he's at a 3rd grade level.
I'll tell you that I just stood in line and shook about 150 hands, and the king knew every single person and every single company, and some of them had bad names like XYZ-Q3, and he knew every one of them, or at least I think he did, because nobody was complaining. I was very impressed with that. But
yeah, the king knew every single person and every single company, and some of them had bad names like XYZ-Q3. I am being dead serious. If someone you knew, if a loved one talked like this, you would put them in a nursing home. Or at a bare minimum, you'd be like, listen, Grandpa, it's time to go to bed. We have no idea what you're saying. But this is the guy with the nuclear launch codes, and now every single foreign dignitary is just forced to listen to it. As our allies learn to live without us and our enemies scheme behind our backs, because clearly America's just done for. And even the king knows there's no point in talking democracy or big principles with Donald. You just give him a little bit of glaze for his golf courses, throw him a dinner, and send him on his way.
Mr. President, you have spoken of your pride in your British roots. In fact, not only have you set foot on British soil twice in the last 2 months alone, but I understand that British soil makes for rather splendid golf courses.
It is truly embarrassing, but honestly, the embarrassment doesn't even measure up to the damage caused by the lies. Not just to our country, but also to the reputation of the United States. When Donald Trump stands next to a foreign prime minister and says how he won the 2020 election and spreads his deceit and authoritarianism.
And you see all the information that's come out. We won in 2020 big. And I said, let's run, we got to run, because I saw what was happening. And the worst thing that I saw was all of these people. You know, we've already solved inflation. We've solved prices. Oil is way down. Energy is way down in the United States.
Everything about this guy and this administration is just so cringe, but it's also so dangerous. I mean, they just succeeded in getting Jimmy Kimmel kicked off air, and the attacks on free speech are ramping up.
Look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing, too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and you take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you, everybody.
They're designating liberal groups they don't like as terrorists and talking about investigating billionaires who are funding liberal-minded groups. I would say Donald Trump has lost his mind, but as we've seen, I don't know how much of a mind he has left. But thankfully, we have Democrats out there, like Senator Murphy, who are willing to respond.
The shooting of Charlie Kirk was a national tragedy. It should have been a line in the sand, an opportunity for President Trump to bring this country together, to do whatever is necessary to stamp out political violence that's targeted both Republicans and Democrats, political violence that emanates from both right-wing and left-wing radicalization. But Trump and his lieutenants are choosing a different path. They are choosing to exploit this tragedy, to weaponize the federal government, to destroy Donald Trump's political opposition. They aren't even hiding what they are trying to do. President Trump himself has publicly threatened to arrest members of the Soros family simply for funding groups that oppose his agenda. Laura Loomer, maybe the most influential outside advisor to the White House, called on Trump to be a dictator and lock up and silence his political enemies. And last night, they showed us exactly how serious they are. Trump's FCC forced a major network to pull a loud Trump critic, Jimmy Kimmel, off the air, essentially saying that any media actor that doesn't say what Trump wants them to say about Charlie Kirk or Trump's policies is going to be silenced. That's censorship. That's state speech control. That's not America. Trump is making it 100% clear that he is going to ramp up his efforts to use the power of the federal government to harass and punish his critics, not because they're supporters of political violence, they are not, but because they have the audacity to openly oppose his policies.